Yeah, mate. You look. I guess you threw the royal yoke 250 years ago, right? This year, so you have a less of a mouthful when it comes to otherwise you'll be in the Royal United States Air Force. Yeah, uh, yeah. So look, I live in the US now. I'm all in. I love living here. I think this is an amazing culture, amazing people. It is a land of opportunity, and people genuinely, want to embrace new ideas and be a better version of themselves. So it was kind of by happenstance. I just ended up moving here 3 years ago. There was no plan. wasn't something I was looking to do, but an opportunity kind of came up. Campfire version, where a dude started a company 30 years ago. He's 60. He's had enough. I made a phone call. He's a good friend of mine. I said, "You sound tired." He's like, "Yep, I'm tired. I'll buy a company. Yep, give me an offer." And here I am. So, but it is, the company is the manifestation of me. It takes fighter pilot ways of thinking, mindset, and ways of working, methodologies, and we've been implementing them in large enterprise for the last 30 years. So nearly 3,500 organizations. We haven't really had opportunity to touch small businesses, unfortunately. So part of what I want to do is help small businesses because that's what I've been for 20 years, small, medium business owner. Uh, Started in Afghanistan after I left the Air Force, built a pretty big humanitarian projects company, moved into property, built a high-rise hotel building using some pretty cool technology that we invented, sort of set a record for building a high-rise at the time. Then moved into publishing. I bought the magazine I used to read as a kid and turned it into a digital publishing business. And then Afterburner, this company that, puts fighter pilots on stage and in boardrooms, and we kind of help people just make things a little bit simple and just get stuff done and quieten down the noise that is, today it's the noisiest it's ever been. Today is just crazy. It's like turning the radio up on full static and everyone's trying to tune a frequency and find a signal. So we kind of help them dial it in, and yeah, with a bit of fighter pilot magic, I guess.
I'm pretty sure it was a fucking oath, mate. Yeah, that's right, Robert. Similar to Boo, that was a past life, and almost applied a lot of that logic and that training and all of the way that they run systems and the feedback and everything that goes into planning. I pushed that into my business realm when I moved to the States. So I also did a bunch of digging on this bloke, and he must be all right because I couldn't really find too many sneaky stories on him. But granted, it was a little bit past my time. Our paths didn't really cross in terms of when we served, but must be doing all right,
Either
Boo.
that or just good at covering my tracks, mate. One or the other.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, so I flew Hornets, you know, the same jet the U.S. Navy flies, and the Blue Angels, and then I went to the United Kingdom and I did some flying over there for the Royal Air Force on a Tornado. But yeah, I always flew jets, and you know what I love about having that, because the way you train a fighter pilot is you're effectively reprogramming a human being. And there's various of degrees that anywhere in the military. Andy would be a different Andy today if he didn't go through the military. He wouldn't understand implicitly how important it is to think before you act. How important it is that the person next to you is as competent as you are. You've got to look out for each other. You've got to bring each other on, and the humility that comes with just being part of a team. Where if you do something wrong, people die. Like that's the reality of it, right? And what's really funny, and we learned this, you know, Afterburner has learned this working with the NFL and NFL teams, is often the things that keep you safe and the things like the basics and just repetition are the things that actually lead to high performance. It's not about the trick play. It's not about the big idea. It's really about dialing in on the basics and building muscle memory. Because in today's world, you know, everyone keeps blaming the world for being busy. Like I just got on a call with the CEO of a $1.2 billion company, and I said, "Hey, Mark, how you doing? I'm busy." It's like, dude, you're the CEO. You're not meant to be busy. You're meant to be calm, thoughtful. But I would say that now, 50 to 60% of the time, when you say to someone, "Hey, man, how you going today?" "I'm busy," is the response. And that in itself is the problem that I'm trying to solve, because when you're busy, you're overwhelmed. When you're overwhelmed, your amygdala's running the show, not your conscious mind, and then you burn out. And when you're burned out, you're useless, or you procrastinate. You just stop doing stuff. So the challenge in modern era leadership and being a modern business owner is you have to be incredibly proactive to stop being busy. And to go back to what you said before, Rob, about dropping a bomb on a target, what I value a lot about being a former fighter pilot is everything starts at the target and we work backwards. Most businesses do it the other way around. They say, "Hey, I'm a fighter jet. I got bombs. Where do you want them?" "Oh, I'll just drop them anywhere. And if I just keep buying bombs and fighter jets and keep spending money, I'm going to be a better organization." But so I call it destination driven thinking, where every leader and business owner should wake up in the morning and say, "What are the 3 things I need to achieve today?" Not what are the 20 things I need to do. Because doing without a target just means you're burning gas. You're wasting assets. And I rarely meet business owners who genuinely have that level of focus on a daily basis. Uh, it's called missionization, if you want to use a fighter pilot term. So as a fighter pilot, you fly 1 or 2 missions a day. Everything is in service to the mission. So you plan it, you brief it, you get everyone aligned, you go out, you do exactly what you said you're going to do. You come back and you debrief it and you say, "What happened today, what we're expecting, and if not, why not? And what's each individual going to do differently tomorrow?" And that's the reprogramming, right? Like you can't reprogram your biases, your beliefs and behaviors without identifying your behaviors and making a commitment to change them. And unfortunately, most of the behaviors that aren't serving you are invisible to you. You don't even see them. They're just who you are, which is why we have so much conflict in, you know, our romantic relationships, because the person that genuinely sees who you are is your husband or your wife. They see all the blind spots and it creates all of this fighting. But if we just said, "Hey, let's debrief this, and I'm going to ask myself, hey, what is it about me that I could do differently tomorrow?" And all of a sudden things start to chill out. So, you know, this whole idea of being really dialed in on a destination rather than an intention, and then every day just reflecting on it and saying, I use the Orca method, where you say to yourself at the end of the day, "Hey, what was the objective? What did I set out to achieve?" The R is the reality, what actually happened. The C is curiosity. Why is there a gap between my reality and where I want to be? And the A is the most important part. That's the action. That's do something, dude. You got to freaking do stuff. You can sit in the mirror and say, "You got this, you're a superhero, you're a rock star." You can do all the positive affirmations, have an amazing growth mindset, but absolutely nothing changes inside of you or around you unless you do something a little bit different and a little bit better the next day.
Yeah, you can appreciate this from a operational perspective, Boo. I just basically over the weekend did an after action report on. We've had a couple of little not near misses, but we've dinged a couple of trucks. We've been working in some big farms and some big fields, and we've started shifting into heavy equipment. And I just had to put the brakes on and say, this is trending in a direction that's not acceptable. We're working long days, fatigue's an issue. What is it? And I had to drill down over the weekend and then pulled my team this morning for a safety brief. Got some outside perspective from other companies that have had issues. And we basically just tabled it and said, all right, here's what I'm seeing. I'm not stressed about the damages. What I am stressed about are the humans and our capability. And moving forward, like we can't have an incident that is, we are playing with our lives here with heavy equipment. So I think for a few of the newer guys and for the younger guys that just see it as all fun and games and it's all throttle and just full throttle and having an absolute blast, they don't see the downside. So we pumped the brakes this morning. We did a post activity report on what our last job was. And we say, while we executed everything right, it could have easily gone in a different direction. And we can't afford that for anybody's families or for anyone in our team. So,
And that's the key, Andy. What yeah, I call it. We develop, I think, in the military, good spidey senses. Like you
yeah.
just kind of you're like, oh, I can see where this is going here, and the whole if then scenario. If this kind of went just a little bit the other way, then that would have been a really bad outcome. Whereas a lot of younger people today, especially, there's no consequence engine. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
literally like the learning happens after the incident, and I think when you debrief, you introduce the scenarios. And what's great as a fighter pilot is you can sit there and debrief, and a senior pilot can say, okay, on that occasion, Boo, we got away with it. But 12 years ago, my friend was killed doing exactly the same thing.
Yep.
He was just a little bit lower.
Yeah,
Uh,
we had a tree company who's literally worked side by side us, and they had a death 3 months ago. So I had him come in and talk, and it's a death. That's a
yeah.
life gone, and that's on him. That's on his family, and that's a guy that we've worked around. So it's real. It's like bringing that gravity into the situation.
Yeah, and I guess with Grand Theft Auto and all this other stuff, and death being on the screen and heads ripped off on Deadpool, you just kind of, and there's so little death now compared to even half a century ago because everything is so much safer. People just don't realize that this stuff is dangerous. Like stuff goes wrong, and it can have really dire consequences. Uh, yeah, no, they all kind of mean something. Like if you're a fighter pilot, your nickname would probably be Bore, as in Bore, because you're a wit taker. So you're like a boring dude.
And
Um,
he's a father, so he'll appreciate that as a dad joke.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So my call sign started as Bruce. My last name's Boucousis. So when I joined the Air Force, I was only 19, so I was certainly pretty cocky and excessively confident in my ability. So if you find a fighter pilot that has a bad call sign or doesn't sound real good, it's usually because they're a little bit too arrogant, a little bit too full of themselves. So mine started as brucellosis. It's a cow disease, bovine disease, where cows have diarrhea. So Bruce is what it started at. Andy would know there's lots of farm boys and girls in the Air Force in Australia. So they all thought it was hilarious, but that was kind of a warning sign. It's like, hey, dude, if you don't dial it down and pull your head in a little bit, you're going to get stuck with a shitting call sign. Uh, and then over time it changed, and we used to do drill every morning and marching and all this sort of stuff that I thought was hilarious. So I would laugh. 3 months of officer training, every day I'd laugh when I marched. I just thought it was so silly. So I was always getting in trouble. And when I got in trouble, the drill sergeants would be like yelling out, Mr. Boo, Boo, because they couldn't pronounce my name. So over time, it just became Boo. Everyone running around saying, Mr. Boo, Mr. Boo. We had another fighter pilot in Australia. His call sign was Coab. You can insert the C word of a bloke. So yeah, it all depends, but there's normally every fighter pilot call sign has a reason. It's not just by luck.
I think you skipped the dad joke because you're taking the wit. You're boring. No wit in it. It's
Normally,
sharp.
they're not
It's sharp. There's
endearing.
one thing you got to understand is you got to be sharp when you hang around with these fighter pilots, Rob.
Yeah, you got to read the book. No, it was two actually, but the first one was the New York Giants when they beat the Patriots in 2012, 2013. And then because the the uh uh, instead of memory bank, Peyton and the Manning brothers kind of invested in it. So we started at the Giants and it got bought down to the Broncos. We actually worked with 19 NFL teams, but it was only those two that invested in the process and applied it. Everyone else just went, yeah, that's a fun bit of talk. And it's a really good lesson in that. It's like there's a lot out there in the world that can genuinely give you a massive uptick in potential. But if you just listen and you don't engage with it, doesn't need to be fighter pilot stuff. It can be anything. It's gonna be a missed opportunity, and it was proven out in the NFL. That's exactly what happened. The two teams that debriefed changed the way they did tape reviews, pushed the coaches out, did it internally with the players. They took ownership. They grew. They learned faster, and next thing you know, you got a big diamond ring on your finger. Yeah, but here's the thing about training. Training and doing the job don't have to exist in two different departments. Like your job is to train as you apply, because training is just learning, right? And training is repetition. It's different to education. But repetition with your team and your colleagues and your friends is where you learn, because everyone's can see you and see what you can't see. What they don't have is your permission to call you out. So when you give people that permission, all of a sudden you start to see the world from the outside in rather than the inside out. And that's where the magic happens. You can't see your full potential when you can't see the handbrake. It's invisible. So, one of the greatest phrases I think I've ever come across is, everything is uncomfortable, growth is uncomfortable, but so is being stuck. So choose the discomfort that leads to growth. And it's all really simple rules. It's be intentional, ask questions, ask for feedback, and how can I do that differently tomorrow? And find your people. You want to create an organization that's full of those people, and people who aren't, if you're a business owner, the good news is they go and leave. You don't even have to fire them. They just don't want to be around that. They don't want to be around the accountability. They don't want to be around the transparency. Ray Dalio in his book Principles talks about radical transparency and radical candor, and they have 30% turnover. They don't really fire anyone. That 30% leaves because they don't like the honesty and integrity and the accountability that comes with being a true high performer. As they say, 6 degrees of separation, right? No, he was great. He got me and one of my colleagues to speak at a big leadership conference last year in Kansas City, and he's just a go-getter. He's a performer. I mean, he's a guy that's always striving to take everything to get himself to that next level. So it's one of those things, Rob. When you're dialed in, you just find the right people, right? I think when you want to release your full potential, and I think what I learned as a fighter pilot, which was really important, is life is actually an accumulation of seconds. It's not an accumulation of hours and days. And you have thousands of seconds to optimize every single day. So when you think about what is the best way I can spend 600 seconds, 10 minutes, it's with a high caliber person who's going to grow me and I'm going to grow them. And the choice to offload 6,000 seconds of just sitting around the house with people that don't have any ambition. So I think that I certainly see that I get positively anxious in a stimulated good way, when I can feel that my seconds are being wasted. Like I got to get out of a conversation. I've got to go in and do something else. It doesn't always have to be action, busy. It can be, hey, I need to go and read a book. I need to do some passive mental development, and now I can go and do something a little bit more dialed in. Yeah. So you guys will see it. You'll see the walk. You're going to be going for days, but enjoy every second, enjoy every footstep, enjoy the way your ankle rolls on every single rock. You just look at the beauty of everything that you can see second by second, the rustle in the bushes, the bird call, rather than just, let's get to the mountain. Let's just get there and push through, as fast as we can. Yeah, I kind of reframe my definition with this new book. So to me, I define leadership as leading people into the unknown and growing them along the way. Like that's a leader. If you're dealing with the now, that's not leadership, that's management. So if you're in the process of not going into the unknown, you're not leading. And that's a really, because that makes life easy then, because the minute you find yourself busy and doing something, you can say, who on my team should be doing this? Like I do need managers, I need doers, or I need to create a new AI agent to do this for me. But I always use that as a trigger. To me, it's like, damn, I'm doing stuff. I'm not leading anymore. I need to. So going to the unknown and then growing the people to have them do the work for you as you move forwards. And if you start to realize that leadership is 95% unknown, then you can release yourself from the fear of doing stuff wrong, the fear of making mistakes. It, Everything you do as a leader is a learning opportunity. It's all new. And what I built with Flawless Leadership is how you do that. Like how can you just become comfortable with the unknown and really just optimize the future for everyone else? That's what your job is. No, I'm a newbie. I'm like Andy. It's just like, hey, look, I'm new Bobby. I got no friends. Let's do it. Let's meet people. You'll be able to pre-order it in about 2 weeks. So it's not released until the 21st of October. So it's all finished. It's with the publisher. It's all ready to go. Yeah, and it's called the Flawless Leadership: The Perfect Book for the Imperfect Leader. And it explores the narrative that a lot of high performers and leaders have about having to be perfect all the time and not making mistakes and putting up a facade. And then how you break that. And really, the DNA of it is how the Air Force broke that in me and turned me into a high growth person that I've been able to apply, for over 2 decades in business now. And then, I've helped companies grow 400% in a year, companies that had stagnated for 10 years. And in 1 year, they grow 400% just by doing some of this stuff. I mean, the only reason I do what I'm doing now is because I've seen it and I've seen how happy it makes people. I've seen people, all the choice it brings into their life. And I'm just taking something that I was gifted with, which was my fighter pilot training. All I've done is just by not even thinking about it, just by accident, used it to build businesses. Then when I brought intention to it and helped people with it, I've watched them grow and be happy too. So it's like, I have to just be on this pathway. I mean, it's just crazy not to.
So I've got a question. I've got a question for you, Boo. So I like to always say, like, the recipe is free, right? The recipe is free. It's out there for everybody. It's the action that counts. What's your closest crocodile in getting inspiration to that action? Like, obviously, you've got this beautiful book that you've written and you put a lot into. How are you pushing that action?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge right now is just dealing with a jaded society. I think society as a whole has kind of given up or in the process of giving up, and that the deck is stacked. So unless you're born into the right family, it's kind of like back to the
Hmm.
aristocratic days. It's like unless you're in the game, you can't play the game. And that's not a true narrative. That's kind of a get out. So to me, it's really a case of look, uh, listen to the podcasts, watch what's happening in the world, people using this stuff, see the growth that's occurring, both emotionally, intellectually, and financially. When you incorporate like a growth loop, when you're very intentional about your growth, don't worry about the time. It might some people get lucky and become a millionaire in a year. Some it takes 20, but you've got to stay in the growth cycle. If you step out of the growth cycle, it's probably not going to happen. You just got to get on there. And what I've found is the longer you're invested in the cycle, the bigger reward that happens at the end. If you get something quick, like I did, I grew a $250 million company and then lost it all. It was too much too soon, too much bounty. And now I'm in the long grind again to rebuild. So it's there's a path, there's a bigger game at play here, and if you choose to not just do the reps and do the basics, it's a 4-step process. What did I mean to do today? What actually happened? Why didn't it happen? And what am I going to do when I wake up tomorrow? Like, that's on you. I mean, I don't know how to make it any easier than that.
I have to say, change the closest alligator, I guess. Damn right.
Yeah, we've got a lot of biggest in the world in Australia.
It was
Unfortunately, it's
rabbit
nothing
proof.
that amazing, but yeah.
They also they kind of leave out the part that it was the rabbit proof fence and the rabbits got through. So
Yeah, yeah, that was a smart idea. There you go. Someone made a really smart idea once upon a time to bring rabbits, right? Someone thought that's a great idea. Another opportunity to learn. Cane toads. Let's bring in some toads to eat some bugs. Yeah, if you don't know what a cane toad is, you've got to Google it, by the way, if you're wondering. No, that's what you do, man. It gets cold. You got to share a
oh,
sleeping
hot
bag.
bunking.
Yeah, yeah, it's
One in, one out. Occasionally there's a little cross reference there.
yeah. Depends how long you've been out. You've been on deployment. Everyone needs a little affection. I mean, failure is the thing that shapes your life. So it's not one, it's all of them. And I get asked this, a lot. What's your biggest regret? What's the thing? Like all of it. Like every single thing that's gone wrong, I immediately bring in the narrative as there is a reason for that. I might not be aware of it yet. And all along my journey in life, I'm constantly referring to the things that didn't work that now I'm not going to make that mistake again, or I can help someone else not make it. And you learn to surf. The first time you get on a surfboard, you're going to make a ton of mistakes, and it's through that process. A business is a surfboard, a business is a fighter jet. It doesn't matter, but for some reason in business, we think it's all about begging for people to buy stuff from us and working really, really hard, doing a lot of stuff that actually isn't generating any value, rather than lean in as Andy did and say, "Hey, stop, pause. We've got to learn something here because something isn't going right. We're not the jigsaw puzzle isn't looking right. There's a piece missing, or this bit, or there's a piece in back to front. So that opportunity there is the opportunity that's going to drive the growth the following day. Uh, I here's a story for you. I was doing an event, speaking with a company, a big bank in Boston, and I was with another fighter pilot, a guy called Balls, who was an F-16 fighter pilot. He and I, we went to get a coffee before the event, and we're in this coffee shop. It's nice, it's fancy, it's got pretty cool place. And like every cool place, the service is terrible. So it had like five people behind the counter, and there were five people in the queue, and we'd been in the queue for 10 minutes, and we're like, "How is this possible?" And then as we started to talk, we were looking at all the things we'd do differently, how we would do this better, and we sat down and we're like, "What is the problem with a fighter pilot? That no matter where you are or what you see in life, you're always thinking, how can it be a little bit better?" And that's the key. Like that's unlocking your potential. Now, obviously, in that scenario, it's like how can they do better? But don't forget to bring that internal narrative. How can I do better? And we're all equipped with this wonderful mechanism to trigger a debrief, and it's called emotion. And when you feel an emotion is normally the result of an unmet expectation, which is the gap that we're talking about. So when we talk about where are we going and where are we, that's the expectation gap. So there's two things you can fix. One, what you did, or two, the expectation itself. And often, and there's a whole bunch of biases around this. If you get your head around psychology, the optimism bias, the planning fallacy, where we always think they're easier than they actually are. So we kind of always set ourselves up to fall short. And when you get really good at being a bit more moderate around what you can actually achieve on a daily basis, all of a sudden that stacks up. That actually becomes achievement. So when you run the marathon that you wanted to run 6 months ago, it's only one small step. It's not a massive step from I've never run to, running the Boston Marathon. Yeah, love that. I might use that if you don't mind. The people you surround yourself with, to admit when it's broken. Debrief. Character. Don't give up. Uh, what does good look like for you at the end of today?
I like to ask my guys, what's one thing you can do today that will make you a better person tomorrow? Or what is one thing that you're missing? Like identify something that you don't have, figure out how to get it, and then we'll get you there to get you into a better spot.
Yeah, I think flawless leadership. I mean, there's no other model out there. So if you Google that, even now we're already doing training programs. I've got a full 6 month online training program, flawless leadership assessments. The website's flawlessleadership.ai, and uh, the idea when someone reads the book, it's to free themselves from expectation, both external and internal, but also to sort of finish reading it and say, "Oh, that's how you do it." I just do that and I become an impactful leader. And I transition from this world of overwhelm and reaction and frustration into an impact driven leader where things are easier. The results of my effort are much more obvious. And I've got a group of people behind me that I'm actually leading on that same journey. Make sure everyone listens to this podcast. Let's help each other. Let's make sure that we're in service to the people out there that just want to, we say put a sticker on the side of the jet, have a win. That's what we're for. So I'm super honored, Rob, to have the opportunity to speak with you and meet you, and hopefully stay connected. It's been a great podcast, and I did my research before the podcast. I know you're doing good things for the world, so I appreciate you.